AM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to INCRadio Florida. I'm one of your hosts this morning for a very special topic that we're going to be talking about. And of course, today is Saturday already. Can you believe this? The 24th of May. It is May 24th, which means that officially, as of this weekend, it will be the official/unofficial start of summer here in Florida, which of course doesn't matter because basically it's summer 9 months out of the year here. But we want to welcome everyone to the show this morning because we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic and timely topic, I think, for our children. But before we do that, I wanted to toss this over to Sister Joy there in Orlando to give our shout outs and international greetings to our international audience. Good morning, Sister Joy.
Good morning. Thank you, Brother Robert. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, because we know we have such a broad spread of viewers, and that's globally. So especially for those of you who are tuning in from the Philippines, good evening to all of you. Magandang gabi, because it's nighttime over there. So thank you for joining us. And wherever you are tuning in from, we want to hear from you and where you're from. So make sure that you comment on our YouTube chat because we want to see where you're from. And as always, a sunny side up here on INCRadio Florida. And we're so delighted to have all of you here because we have, like what Brother Robert said, a really exciting topic. And I think we can all learn, right, from what we'll be discussing today. So really good stuff, and looking forward to it, especially to one of our very special guests who's joining us today. So, but I'm going to toss it over. Oh, go ahead, Brother Robert.
Thank you, Sister Joy. I was about to do it. I didn't know if you were going to, but yeah, we wanted to go ahead, of course, and welcome, first of all, Sister Audrey, who's joining us here from also my neighbor down here in Tampa, Florida. Good morning, Sister Audrey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on INCRadio Florida this morning. Of course, as usual, we'd love to hear from you and engage with you during our show this morning. So please, in response, or if you want to give any shout outs, drop them in the comments below. Let us know where you're from, and we'll be happy to read those comments out later because we'd love to hear from you and join us in the conversation.
Absolutely. And that is exactly the point, because this program isn't about us sitting around and talking. It's about us engaging with all of you, because a lot of this topic really is meant to get your understanding and opinion about these topics as well. We call this a conversation, and it's a conversation not just amongst the three, or in this case today, the four of us, but it's amongst all of us that are here, including those of you in the chat. So please drop a comment in the chat, send us your questions, and don't forget to hashtag Faithful Florida if you're coming to us here from the Sunshine State, or let us know where it is that you're coming from. But before we jump into the topic, because this topic is so endearing, I think, I wanted to also introduce a special guest that we have this morning, who I think has a tremendous amount of experience in this arena about teaching our children to be resilient. That is Sister Annie Cañete from East Jacksonville. Good morning, Sister Annie.
Good morning, Brother Robert and INCRadio team here in Florida. Good morning, everyone, brothers and sisters all over the world. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited and humbled to get to chit chat with you all on this.
That is awesome. Thank you, Sister Annie. And the reason that, we talk about resilience and teaching our children resilience, and the reason that we're so fortunate to have this awesome panel today, because when we talk about raising our children in a mindset of resilience, it's teaching them how to overcome challenges in life. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. But each of our panelists today have children at varying ages. So let's start with Sister Joy. If you could go through and tell us your kids, their ages, and their names again, so this way our audience can get kind of a context of what our frame of mind and point of view is going to be.
Oh, always delighted to so proud to talk about my family. I am a mom of three. I have a 13-year-old who is Jacob. I have a 12-year-old who is Caleb, and I have an 8-year-old, or let me correct myself. She said she's 8.5. That half counts, right?
Gotta have that 6 months.
Yes, she was counting down. So 8.5 and a little more. and that's Alexis. So I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and it is definitely a labor of love. Something I've always wanted to be mom, and it's really a lot of fun, but it definitely is a labor of love. And I'm excited about this topic because I might just cry with all of you guys because I could learn. I really want to learn from this too. But it's fun. I'm excited to learn.
But she can't cry because she's Valerie Joy. So it'll
I'm
probably be
full,
tears
That's
of
right.
joy.
That's right. Your name is
full
not
of joy.
Valerie Sorrow, so we could. All right, Sister Annie, what about you? Tell us about your wonderful family.
Thank you. So I am also a mom of 3. I have a 16-year-old, Isaiah, and a 12 and a half. Why did my older daughter, 12 and a half year old Isla, and a 6-year-old Ivory. And they are the light of my life, and like any mom, you just dote on your children. And again, feeling extremely blessed and thankful to have them, and very, very grateful for what we were given, because it's not me. But yeah.
100%. Great, thank you. And then Sister Audrey, what about you?
I am a new mom of a 9-month-old going on 5 because he thinks he is
Yeah.
that mobile. But yes, new mom of a 9-month-old. He just turned 9 months this Thursday.
Awesome, awesome. And I think that this is a really good opportunity for you to pick up some nuggets, I think, that that little Jamie hasn't already figured out on his own. I think there's still some opportunity left to be able to teach him a few things, over
Yes,
time.
and I've been
And then,
I've been told it's never too early to start practicing these habits because babies are sponges. They will absorb everything.
100%.
All caps,
And
everything.
yes,
Oh
yep.
no.
And by all caps, that means good and bad.
Yes.
So consider yourself put on notice now, right?
There you go.
And then for me, of course, I have 2 beautiful children, Sister Lulu and I. We have our son who is 29 years old. Yeah, okay. I had to look over at
I
Sister
love the
Audrey to be
confidence.
sure. Yeah, he's
Yes,
29 years
yes,
old.
but he's
This
basically 30 already.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a daughter who just turned 21 this year. So, but of course, I also have a grandchild now with brother RJ and sister Audrey. So there's definitely a lot of learning that can still happen, a lot of opportunity. And I think this is great because we're going to be able to talk about the lessons learned in resilience along a pretty wide spectrum of age, right? From adult children to young children to pre-toddlers. And I think that today's topic is going to be very helpful for anyone that's there. If you're in the chat and you do have some specific questions for us, please throw them in there. We're going to try to cover all the topics. And of course, as always, this is not just a conversation amongst us here on the panel, but more importantly, this is a conversation for all of you as well. So please be sure to join in on that conversation in our chat. But today's topic is about teaching your child to be resilient. And I wanted to kick things off today because I wanted to ask a question to our panel. And before we get started, and for our panel, what do you think is the reason that resilience is such an important life skill for our children to have? And I want to kick that off with Sister Joy. Why is that such an important life skill for our children to have?
Resilience really is important. I think that's all around. And it's important because life, we know this, life is tough, right? It's going to knock us down. And I think it's so important that even for us adults, this is a constant thing that we're trying to learn and understand in ourselves, but trying to teach our children that we're going to get knocked down. Life is going to get tough, but it's not, while we're down, the important thing is to get back up, dust your knees off, and keep going. And it's tough.
Right.
I think this is a really, because even as adults, this is a tough thing to learn. It can be tricky, and that's why I think it's important that we also keep an open mind. Trying to teach our kids to keep an open mind. Like this season, you're gonna get knocked down. It's not gonna look the same, but let's get back up. Let's learn from it. Keep pushing forward, and then we're gonna get knocked down again. And then the important thing is we get up, we learn, and keep moving forward. So I think that's
Yes,
really important.
absolutely. Well, and I think that sort of kind of encompasses the whole reason why resilience is important both to children and adults, right? Because like
Mhm.
you said, even as adults, it's a tough skill to learn.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's something that you're constantly learning. It's not something that you master
Mhm.
after just, having gone through it once. It's a constant. And I think last week when we were on the show, we even brought up the issue, like, is resilience something that you're born with, or is it something you're taught?
Mhm.
And I think that today we want to be able to demonstrate that it's a skill with
Oh
the
yeah.
right tools that you can teach your children. What about you, Sister Annie? What is to you the reason why resilience is such an important life skill for our children?
Resilience is the skill outside of prayer, right? A child who prays is
Mhm.
definitely on the track of resilience, looking to God for assistance and guidance and mercy or whatever it is you need in that moment. And then so you're done with the prayer and God's going to act on it, and it's resilience that coasts you through until you identify what's next. Like otherwise you're going to stay on your knees in the bedroom and you don't want to leave. Or you're just you're almost anchored to the weight of that heavy thing. And so a 6-year-old, the heavy thing is iPad time is over, or there's no more TV shows left to watch, or it's too hot to go play outside, or the peer that just you can't, you wanted to have a play, it didn't work out. And all of those transcend to 16-year-olds, 26-year-olds, all the way up to where we are all now. And it can bog you down. It could stop that flow of life. But resilience is where you say, hey, I've been through that, I could get through that. Or maybe where you just help pull yourself forward, because life keeps going and you don't want to stay stuck and you don't want to not develop or grow. And it's resilience and this ability to face life with grit, to deal, like to have that, the grit of moving forward, pressing on. Otherwise, all the expectations and responsibilities we have, how are we going to meet them? Yeah, it's a
I
key
think
skill.
that's an awesome point, Sister Annie, is that life will go on with or without you being able to jump on, right?
Mhm.
So it's being able to understand that if you want to stay on the train, you got to
Mhm.
make sure that you can hang on and continue. I think that's a great topic to really expand on a little later on in the conversation. Sister Audrey, I know, with a 9-month-old, maybe the thoughts of resilience and the concept of resilience are still evolving. But why is it that you think it's important that Jamie learn to be a resilient child, or as a child, learn to be resilient?
He's got a long way to go still in life, God willing. I mean, hopefully, that's the hope, right? That they live a long life. He's only 9 months, so with being 9 months young, um, and a lot of life to go. To Sister Annie's point about life still moving on, uh, it's also the hope that even in their young and early age, one day, one way or another, they're gonna be tomorrow's leaders. So right now, presently, that's the parents of the in the household. And so
Mhm.
we want to make sure that they're not just model members of society or model members, especially among our fellow brethren in the church, but that they're also lifting others up, because if they don't have that
Mhm.
resilience, there's no way that they can give it to somebody who needs it. So in it's not just a survival mode, it's sharing something good that you have with others too, because I mean we all need a little help every now and then.
Oh yeah. Good.
Oh, we need it probably more now than then sometimes.
Right.
That
Right.
is so true. Well, let's jump right in because I think those are all great foundational points that we're talking about, right? So when we start talking about resilience, one of the things that is so prevalent in pop culture is that you see it everywhere in the movies, in
Mhm,
songs, in music, in history, right?
mhm.
If anybody studied philosophy, philosophy is just filled with all sorts of these quotes about resilience. And here are some of the more common ones we've probably heard. And some of these are from politicians, some of them are from philosophers, some of them, are from movie quotes, which, it's crazy to think how many lessons can be learned from there. But resilience isn't about never falling; it's about learning how to rise.
Ooh,
And
yes.
that actually was I think an old Chinese quote about understanding how to overcome failure and not always trying to prevent from falling, but learning and rising from it. Another one is don't judge me by my success.
Mm.
Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back
Ooh,
up
that's
again. I think
good.
a
That's a good
business
one.
person probably came up with that one, right? When they were applying for a job, because that's how often it's used, right? Another one is life doesn't get easier or more forgiving.
So
We
true.
just get stronger and more resilient.
Mhm.
And I think to Sister Annie's point earlier about prayer, right? When
Oh,
we pray as members of the Church of Christ, we don't often pray to say, God, please get rid of all of these obstacles,
mm,
remove all of these challenges, make life easy for me. That's not
mhm,
the prayer, right? The
mhm,
prayer is usually, let me face these challenges head on, but make me more faithful, make me more stronger.
mhm,
So this way I can overcome them, I can be successful. That's the driving force for us.
mhm,
And I think this sort of epitomizes that because we realize that life isn't going to get easy and life isn't going to be forgiving. And
mhm.
that's why our children need to learn the lesson early, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We,
Really
we,
important.
we want them to be stronger. And then the last one was, which I thought was kind of cute, fall down 7 times, get up 8, right?
It's not
Unless
so cute when you're down. You're like,
Oh,
"Ah,
yeah, exactly. Not when you're down on the ground looking up and go, "You want me to do
I
what
don't look
again?"
so cute."
It's, it's when you're
No.
down, it's like 7 more times of this.
Exactly.
But later on, we're gonna talk about that, though, because we're gonna talk about, you know, uh, l learning from your mistakes,
Mm,
learning from the challenges and the failures, because simply getting up and doing it again exactly the same way you did it before when you weren't successful,
mm.
why should you expect that the outcome is gonna be any different, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's part of the toolkit. Sister Annie? Oh, I think you're muted, Sister Annie. Oh,
I think that's such an important piece though.
oh,
Like
you're good.
it's not just getting up, it's how you get up, right? And just
Mhm.
going back to that first quote there, it's true. Like, yes, I'm not so cute while I'm down
Dusting
here. I'm gonna
dusting
get up.
yourself off, right? That's key. That's so important.
I'm a lot cuter
Um,
when I'm standing.
Yes, I know.
all right. Well, then let's define what truly resilience is, right? Not from the movie quotes and pop culture references, but what is resilience by definition? And resilience by definition is the ability to handle a tough situation and bounce back from setbacks and keep going even when things don't go the way you planned, right? Teaching your children to accept disappointment, I think, is such an important skill to learn early in life. One, it prevents your children from having to deal with overinflated expectations. And more importantly, it equips your children
Yeah.
to be able to now understand that not everything is going to go your way in life,
Mm,
right? And I think that when you think about how is that manifested as a child, it starts when they're really really small, right?
yeah.
Like, so your young children, like Sister Annie, your kids, obviously transitioned in teaching them how to deal with disappointment. What are some of the things that you did to prepare them? Because I know, like, with Isla, she's turning into Little Miss Entrepreneur.
Yes.
Like, how do you equip her to be able to handle, because sales is tough.
Oh
I've
yeah.
Sales
sold.
is tough. Yeah,
That's
she's
tough
a
for
little,
adults.
it is, but she's our little hustler. Last week she had a children's market and she other than drive the car and load the tables and the tub of merchandise, she did everything. She set the table up. She priced everything. She interacted. We were, as parents in this particular thing, we are not allowed to interact with the customers. So my husband and I we just sat on chairs and enjoyed watching this young lady. So this was like her fifth market, I believe. And she also has experience selling cookies as a scout, so a Girl Scout. So
Right.
there, like, right. So there, she was selling someone else's product, and in this particular market, she's selling crocheted items that she had made herself. And she
Ooh.
was championing these things, and she was learning. So not to make this about how to sell, but specifically for resilience.
Yes.
When we pulled up to the market, we were late. Okay, this was our first market showing up late. So the market was literally going to start in about 10 minutes. And we found our spot. And on the way there, we passed by 4, 5 other crocheters.
Oh
So
man.
if you know anything about,
boy.
right, you're like, wait, they're selling the same thing. They're selling this. Oh boy. So like all of a sudden the market share is like shrinking because
Yes.
we've
Is
got
this
so much
something I have a question. So
competition.
is this something that Isla noticed, or is this something that you guys noticed and were like,
All of us noticed, except for
okay.
the 6-year-old. The
Ah.
6-year-old was like, okay, this can be great, right? And because she's 6, she's sweet, she's sheltered by all of the assistance and the help from the adults and the big brother and big sister in her life. And I'll give you an example of what she went through. But no, so, and I'm elbowing my husband. I'm like, don't say that out loud, because he was like, look at all this competition. It's just like, she's already, I could see like this young lady was holding herself together.
Mhm,
And so it was just a matter of, let's just do the next right thing,
mhm.
right? So let's just set up the table and let's get this 4-person tent set up, even though there's 3 of us. Like, let's just the next right thing. And lo and behold, we got set up. Would you know, by the end of the market, we were all packing up. So this was 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It was a long day in the Florida sun. It was out in
Mm.
Amelia Island, beautiful
Oh, I
scenery.
love
Yeah.
Amelia Island.
So we
Yes.
had the beach, and there was this festival they had on nature, so it was really neat. And she had catered specifically to that. So she had these little like sea turtles, and then flowers, and
Ooh.
just things that she created with this. Again, she was planning for the market, customizing it within her skill capacity, which is phenomenal. But yeah, like we were packing up, and the tent next to us, the young entrepreneur in that tent was like, it would have been nice if I sold one thing. And my
Oh
heart
my
crushed.
gosh.
I was like, get the cash, go buy something. Like, let's support her. Like, how horrible. But she had literally packed everything up already. There was nothing visible. And Isla, my young daughter, and this is her and the example that she has been exposed to from her grandparents, the family in the church, the teachings from the administration that she gets. So she was like, it's okay, mom. I'm a member. Like, I'm praying. Like, she was comforting me. And I'm just holding it together, trying not to, like, moms, we are the temperament of our family. So if
Mhm.
you're upset, don't be so shocked when they're throwing it down too. Like, we need to hold it together. And this young lady she had what she called a 3-figure market. She was cool because she really adjusted her goals. She was like, I just want to sell 7. She hit 7 within an hour and a half. She's like, she bumped it to 10. And then by the end of the market, she doubled her goal. And the math that I'm sharing is just to prove, like, originally the goal is always sell out, sell out, sell out. Like, and everybody, I hope you sell out. Like, that's the, where everybody's at. But she realized, I'm going to set a goal that is attainable. Like, we talked about SMART goals, right? So that is attainable for this time period. And God blessed her beyond, because she more than doubled her goal. Like,
That's
it
awesome.
happened. And that was because she learned the techniques of sales. And for some reason, this is just something really important to her. She
Oh.
loves this, and her motivation factor is there, but the resilience is what helped her get through
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And she learned that about a year ago when she was trying to learn to crochet. Can I tell you how many tears? I think we went through tissue boxes and
Yes.
evenings.
Oh,
it's a
Crocheting is
frustrating
hard.
thing. It's hard.
It
And
is
I
really
couldn't
hard.
help her. I don't know how to crochet. I was just like telling her and guiding her, like, okay, so that tutorial wasn't so hot. Maybe let's meet a friend in real life. Like just setting her up, exposing her to good mentors, and wiping her tears and just guiding her through it step by step because she was knocked down many, many times.
Oh,
Mhm.
But now she's standing on top and she's riding those waves, and it's amazing. I would not give her these experiences because she's applying them all over the place,
Oh yeah,
all over
that
the place.
is
Mhm.
Oh,
that is
that's awesome. Well, and Isla's how old?
She is 12 and a half.
So 12.
Yeah.
So
half
we're
12
talking like this pre-tween period,
Mhm.
right? Which is already, fraught with so many challenges in life. Taking on this kind of a challenge, right? And bringing it in, introducing it, I think is another way to kind of really start to build that
Yeah.
resilience that she'll carry into adulthood. So that's and say like we said earlier, sales is tough even for grown-ups. It's a tough thing to do. So for her to have that mindset already is, I think, phenomenal.
All those
When
variables
so
like sales,
Mhm.
crocheting, marketing,
Eat?
those
Yes.
yeah, there's so many variables to that. And if she was able to overcome that, that is definitely an example of resilience, and it can be taught. And it doesn't have to be through something like, oh, it doesn't have to be financially related, but it's just so nice to see this example that even in our with our youth, they can learn these things with little skills. Like first it was crocheting, first it was with marketing, then so it's so possible to we just have to see what our children are interested in, and then just keep those tissue boxes on hand.
Yes.
And yeah,
All of us.
get that supply,
Yeah.
that stockpile it. Well,
Yes.
so in a lot of times the thing is that being resilient is often confused with there are these misconceptions, right, about what really is resilience. And I think a lot of people view, because of pop culture and the references we even talked about earlier, that resilience just means that you're tough. You're a big tough guy or a tough gal who's you know prepared to just mow through things and not have to deal with consequences, for example. Versus, I think what people are coming to realize more is that resilience is more about being healthy emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Sister Annie, you brought up earlier in pre-show in the conversation about
Mhm.
the differences between being tough versus emotionally healthy, and use the term, right?
Absolutely. If I go back to when she was just learning this skill, which she picked, she was interested in it. Now, my mom crochets, but my mom didn't know how to instruct her. My mom was like this, and she's just going like really fast. And my daughter, first of all, she's left-handed. And it's a right-handed world, so that was hard. Like trying to find a tutorial that was mirrored the right way, right? So she has a couple of things, but who doesn't? We are like, you set this goal or you have a dream, and then there's gonna be bumps, or there's gonna be red tape, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it, something in the way. And so that's your first hurdles. And I could have easily said, okay, get back up. Okay, oh, that's tough luck. Try again. But
Mm-hmm.
that for her isn't motivating. I loved it because I just got you validate their feelings, right?
Oh
Like, yeah,
yeah.
that is hard. I can't believe, like we just spent 30 minutes and we didn't gain nothing from that. Like you just have to help them feel normal about what they're going through and what they're feeling, identify that, um, and then show them, and then the resilience comes in, right? Like, so let's try again tomorrow. And a
Yeah.
lot of times it was, we're going to put this away, we're just going to let ourselves feel what we're feeling, let's pray together on this, let's go outside, take a nice walk in the sun or with the, in nature, and let's just reset. And guess what? We could try again tomorrow. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's this pressure, like I gotta do it now. I gotta be amazing now, today. And no, it's a process. And that's
Oh
why
yeah.
resilience is
Mm-hmm.
huge, because that process has, is a ride.
So do you
So
think pressure helps build resilience, or do you think
healthy
sabotage it?
pressure, healthy pressure. So healthy pressure is supportive pressure, and real and eyes on the prize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is going to open up doors of opportunity for you. or
Mhm.
learning this skill is going to help your loved ones, or help the church, right?
Mhm.
Or give
Mhm.
glory to God, because you're going to be busy doing things that are a one use of your time,
Mhm.
right? So crocheting would be classified as like a handicraft, which is like a lost art nowadays. The only thing kids know how to do with their hands is
Mhm.
snack and press buttons.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we should be creators, right? We should not just be consumers. Like, so that was always a big focus in our family, and she took that to heart. She's like, okay, so what can I create? So and now she's going through it again. She's learning, she's into clay, like, so modeling clay and she's making her own little characters and things. And I love it because when I sat with her this first round with the crocheting and really took the time to just be what she would need, right? Be
Mhm.
there for her in the way that I felt she would need. All those lessons and all those encouragement and how to table it for tonight and pick again tomorrow and pick up again tomorrow, right? Like all of that, she's doing it on her own now. Like, I'm hands off. I
Yeah.
just drive to the store to buy the materials, and she's paying for it herself, and she's managing it herself, and she's like, oh man, I baked
Oh
this
my
and it's
gosh.
went flat. And I'm like, okay, so now we clean the oven and try again tomorrow. And what do you need? Like, now it's just, what do you need?
Yeah,
Versus,
but that's a
yeah.
result of all, of what you had to, like during the moments that she was down and needed that, that presence, from her parent.
Mhm.
I mean, what she is now, that's definitely a result of all that hard work and patience, right? And that's resilience right there. You got
Yeah.
to,
Resilient mom to resilient daughter for
yeah,
sure.
Oh,
Just carried it right, 100%. And
yeah.
well, and I think let's take a look, because I think we may have already hit on a couple of these things, right? When we
mhm,
talk about resilience and what are the signs of a resilient child. And I think we can very easily just go down what Sister Annie was talking about and check boxes here, right? Because
Mhm.
when we talk about emotional regulation, right? That means that they're able to manage their feelings, their expectations are set. They understand that what they're feeling is okay,
Yeah.
and they just have to learn how to manage it, right?
Mhm.
It's not like the end of the world, the whole world isn't crumbling in around you.
yeah,
Teaching them how to problem solve instead of giving up.
Mhm.
I think we touched on that, right? Moving forward, let's figure out what we did and let's try again. And
Mhm.
then the willingness to try again, because that's the toughest part, right? Just
Yeah.
motivation, inspiration, and enthusiasm are, because a lot of times people they have enthusiasm to start things, but they don't have the endurance to finish them.
mm,
Mhm.
So everybody wants to start running, and they do it for a day.
mhm,
But then when the next day comes up and then their bodies are a little sore, maybe they're not so enthusiastic now, right?
yeah,
So the difference of enthusiasm versus endurance are
Yeah.
things that we have to also talk about. But then knowing how to ask for help,
Oh yeah.
yes.
which is a
And
tough thing for humans to do. I don't know. I think, is it easier for kids though to ask for help from their parents than it is adults asking for help from their peers, do you think?
I think it's depending on it's the climate of who you're with, right?
That's very
The
true.
Mm.
Yeah, are you safe? You have to be safe. Like, there's a reason why none of us ask a question, even though the presenter's like, there's no such thing as a bad question.
Mhm.
But you're like,
You're
I'm
like,
not
oh yeah, there
asking in
is.
this group. You're like, everyone's gonna think I'm fill in the
I'm
blank,
not so
right?
smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really hard because as a parent, like, we want we know, we're like, don't do that. That doesn't work. But they that's never gonna work. But guess what? And sometimes they learn through your advice, which is so nice. Like my eldest, he pays attention. And then every time where he didn't take my advice, he learned the hard way. I love it. He comes to me and goes, Mom, you were so right. And I'm just like, I've never heard that before. Like, what? I'm right. But yeah, it just and yeah, so you have to build a family culture of it is safe to mess up.
Mhm.
If they are afraid to let you down, they're never going to ask you for help. They're
Yeah.
never going to try anything unless the result is perfection, and
Yeah.
you're going to then they're not going to experience anything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Then that's why, if I may add this piece, children are so easily drawn to the gadgetry.
Mhm.
Because if I don't like what I'm watching, I could swipe left, I could swipe
Yes.
right. And
Mm.
this game where I build these blocks virtually, like, Angry Birds, you could mess up, right? Like trying to launch the little animal to knock down the blocks, but then you get three
Still
lives all
haven't
over
figured that
again.
out. Yeah. Still haven't figured that out.
Yeah. And so that's why they need handicrafts. They need something like it, so for the 9-month-old, right, trying to figure out how to get into that toy, and the 6 and the
Mhm.
8-year-old trying to build the block set, or um garden, like, working on real things with your
Mhm.
hands is absolutely rewarding. The lessons for resiliency are built in. Oh, you're frustrated, it's not working the way you want. Man, we're
Mhm.
growing impatient, this is taking too long. Like, identify what they're experiencing, because guess what, when they ask for help, they're going to you, I am
Oh,
disappointed. I have tried this 10 times and I can't figure it out. And then you could say, would you like, can I offer you an 11th time? Or, okay, who have we not asked, right? In
Mhm.
those 10, so you could take them where they're at and build and bump them forward a step.
Mhm.
Our goal as parents is not to get them from 0 to 100. You cannot skip 1 through 99.
Mhm.
yeah.
And
There's
that's hard.
nothing.
And
Yeah.
that's a tough thing to do as a parent, because we've kind of lived through that already, right? So
Mhm.
and then you're like, man, if they only just do this, they would just get there, and then we're done. But that I think that's a struggle as a parent, right? Because you're like, okay, they have to go through this process. They have to. And it's
Yeah.
just, loving them enough to just let them not suffer through it, but let them work it out themselves.
Right.
Oh, you know what immediately comes to mind when I think about this, when exactly what you guys have mentioned is, as parents, one of the toughest things, and so Sister Audrey, you're gonna get there in about 6 years. But when your
Great.
children have homework and they
Uh,
come to you because they
Oh,
have a problem, a math problem that they can't figure out,
oh,
and
math.
here's the choice, right? The choice is, I can't figure out this problem. You look at it, and immediately in your head, you already know the answer. So now, as a
Mhm.
parent, you're faced with a choice. Do I just give them the answer so this way I can go back to doing what I was doing? Or
Mhm.
do I help them to kind of work it out? And sadly, I think for many parents, maybe not many, but a good majority of the parents, the immediate the immediate visceral reaction to it is, oh, here's the answer, it's X, or here's
Mhm.
the answer, it's Y. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next
Mhm.
question, so that way they can just continue moving forward. And we may be even doing it subconsciously, because our child asked us for something and we're going to give it to them. I don't know the answer to this, and I think that's such an important thing to reflect on, because we as parents maybe need to change our mindset of, okay, well, what is the question asking you to do, and or
Yeah.
how are you supposed to figure this out and kind of work through it, rather than taking the shortcut, like Sister Annie was saying, and going from 1 to 100. Well, what are the 99 steps in between?
yeah.
And
Right.
how, yeah.
That's such out of the box thinking for a parent too, because it's like I can't just give you the answer, which is easy for a parent,
Mhm.
right? But it's like how can I phrase different questions to kind of get those connections in your brain going so that
Yeah.
you
Well,
know how to apply problem solving to this
mm,
Mhm.
in other things too.
there's
Because
a
I'm sure this is
great
not the only
example.
time.
No, and it's consistent. So one of the best indicators of a successful adult is that and this is biblical. Y'all are gonna go, yeah, I know. Is that the child had responsibility,
Mhm.
aka chores,
Yes.
in their
Mm.
childhood. And it's so much work. Like, I could just do the dishes myself. Let me just do the laundry myself. I'm so tired of,
Mhm.
I'm running it through now, and all the ways that the laundry can go wrong, all the ways that the dishes could just be
Oh yeah.
not the way they need to be,
Oh,
right?
the
Like,
clothes.
please sweep the floor, child, and yet you have it's not, it's swept by an 8-year-old. The quality isn't there as
Yeah.
the homeowner, or the person who has
That's
to
the hard
open their
thing
door.
too.
It is.
The quality will not be there.
The quality will not. But if you do it for them,
Mm-hmm.
if you do it for them, they're not like they never learn. We need
Yeah.
resilience. We need to say it's okay because guess what? I'm putting in the time and this is going to pay off.
Mhm.
So this
Because
is
let
a
me tell you,
disclaimer for everyone. When y'all come to my house, okay, my kids do chores. That's why my lawn looks crooked a little bit. Okay. The dishes, you might have to wash it again. No.
just flick it off, scrape it off. No.
Okay, yeah, just
Yeah.
Some pieces of grass are a little longer than the other.
Children are at work, but here are the rewards, moms and
Yes.
dads. Sister Audrey, like this is huge, okay? Like I wake up now and I have me time. I haven't had that in a while because
Ah.
my children cook breakfast.
Oh
Ooh.
my gosh.
They are responsible for breakfast. Now, have they been doing it last week? No, because we had an off week. However, I was like, hey guys, remember you're the ones responsible for this. And that's because we took 2 or 3 years. So we homeschool, full disclosure. But we focused on, all right, here are some things you can do with eggs, and here are some protein options. Now go make it happen. And they were and there were shells in the eggs and there were
my
bunny eggs, and but now, like, hey, yeah, I can go out for a jog. I can go out. I can read my book in peace. I could work on a project because that section of the day is completely handled from start to finish. Someone's in charge of the sink and someone's in charge of the food prep, and they all pitch in at the table, and that was effort and time and me being present for all of these things right here, like naming, like, man, that just stinks, like, oh, like cracking a rotten egg into the whole thing. Like learning
Wait a minute. So it's not all about like Eggo waffles every morning?
no, oh no, not in our home. We have some health concerns, so we have to cook from scratch most of the time. We can't
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's amazing too, because your kids aren't close in age. There's a good gap in between. So I'm sure that's great application of teamwork that they're learning in the home that they can carry out in other places too, because that's just the nature of the world we live in, right?
yes.
You're working with very different people and you've got to learn how to
is.
work with them.
Yeah. And then for me as an adult, okay, I'm like, wait, who's gonna cook the food? Oh yeah, that's me. Because I was provided for my whole childhood. We had help in the home. Like, no, I didn't have to lift a finger. They tried. My parents tried. My dad had this little cute chore system. I think it was 10 cents a chore. It lasted like a day. And we had a helper in the home. I love her so much. And she didn't let us do nothing. And so I wasn't in the habit of it. And now as an adult, of course I'm going to keep my space clean. But then you have 3 kids and their needs, and it all piles up, and you're just like, where's the
Yes.
it's you, people, put yourself in front of the mirror. We have, we're the ones, and we have to step up. And that's the thing though, is remember this whole adulting thing that came out with the millennials, or what group was it, right? Like, I did what I'm supposed to do today.
Yes, it was millennials. I will speak on our behalf.
to pull it back to resilience, right? Like, they're so proud for what they're supposed to do, but again, they weren't given responsibility. Don't take that away. And it's work. Like, you have to hold their hand through it and watch a lot of for those of us professionally. Have you ever trained a colleague or been in charge of training the new hire? And it's not instant. And yes, there's payment involved in that, so you do it with a smile. But the reward here is huge. It's bigger than any paycheck ever. Like,
And it's
watching
tough
your
because
children.
you, as a parent, feel like, look, I just got to get this done. The dishes are going to take twice as long and they're going to be half as clean. But
Yes.
letting them do it is the lesson that's being learned, right? And it's the same thing with, rather than being being patient and letting them go ahead and do whatever the chore happens to be. It's instinctive as a parent to want to jump in and just do it. Right. It's just like the whole math thing, right? It's easier for me to give you the answer. Well, not in my case, because I likely don't even know what the answer is
That's
myself.
funny because in our household, when the kids go to Brother Billy, they're like, Dad, how do I do this math? And he's like, why has Johnny got 10 apples?
Yeah.
You know, what, so what do you need this for? And
Yeah.
then he'll
do you need
use
10
the
apples
learning
for?
gallery. Can you help us with this?
He's like, this isn't practical. Don't worry about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, you're never going to use this math when you grow up, son. Don't worry about it. Or that's the whole point. Is it's like, you ask your kids because they're coming to you like, Dad, how do you figure out this math problem? And then if I don't know it, I just look at RJ and go, I don't know. How do you figure out that math problem?
Yeah.
I could give you the answer, but that's not going to help you.
Mhm.
So go and try to. But I really don't know what I'm doing. So but let's move on, because I want to get to the toolkit, right? Because people genuinely want to build resilience in their children.
Mhm.
But I think because there's a lot of pop culture and a lot of references and a lot of, again, enthusiasm around it. But let's talk about what are the skills that we need to help start building in our children. And I think the first one, sort of a no-brainer, right? You got to model it yourself. If your children witness you just giving up at the slightest hint of a challenge, or if your children witness you not being able to recover from failure in life, and that you're just defeated completely, that's modeling behavior that we don't want them to sort of entertain, right? So that one's pretty much a no-brainer. But this one we talked about, encouraging problem solving, because anytime one of my kids brings a math problem to me, I will encourage them to solve it themselves. So that way I won't have to worry about demonstrating how little I know. But it's important. It's an important skill for them to learn. But letting the kids struggle a little bit before stepping in, right? I think this is a recurring theme. Parents, we want to jump in. We want to jump in. Sister Audrey now is a parent to a 9-month-old, and when you're watching him, the patience. I think we were talking about it yesterday. It's like watching him try to move from being on his belly to getting up and starting to crawl, and just kind of him reaching for things. How much of it is you like just wanting to grab it and just give it to him, versus encouraging and trying to just be patient enough for him to be able to do what it is he needs to do, because he's at a crucial stage of development, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a little easier for me to just kind of watch him and let him kind of figure it out on his own. I think it's when he starts to like really reach, and this is just coming from a working full-time mom and student, where it's like these moments where I could hold my child, I will get them, because they come far and few between. And so when we are playing and he reaches up and is like, Mommy, I want you, I need you, because I can't turn back onto, I can't get up, I can't grab something. That's where it's difficult for me to be like, oh, but you're learning right now, and I have to control my urge to hold you and embrace you. Of course, it's not going to last long, knowing that, yes, infants still need that, because that's their only way of communicating their basic needs. They're not manipulating your emotions. I learned that from the very best Ninang here. So, they do want that, but I think that's the part of me where I'm like, he's gonna be okay if he fusses and whines a little bit, and then see if he suits himself, and then move on. It's the dad and the grandparents, might I add.
There's other people in the room here. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's a good point. Fair point. I'll give you that. Fair point, parents. But that's our privilege, right? Grandparents are privileged to be able to do the things that, don't do as we do, do as we advise. But here's an important role, though. You bring up a good point. Husbands and wives. How important is it that both parents have to be on the same page about, right? Because you might have the one who wants to let him do everything. This could be a whole show on its own.
Do we have another hour?
I know.
Like, you have one parent who wants to do everything for the child, and then you have the other parent that is like, no, they're going to have to learn on their own. They're going to have to fail. They're going to have to. So, Sister Annie.
Yes.
Where does Brother Gary fall in that with you?
First of all, what a fortunate child. If you have one who has this complete style and another parent who has another complete style, that is between the parents to communicate and to develop their family style. But that child is so like they will learn easily, like, oh, I can go to dad for this situation, I can go for mom for that. Like they feel complete. There's a blessing there. So brother Gary is the parent who will squash the mosquito, like meaning like
The
nothing is
meaning,
going to
yeah.
bite his child, right? Nothing, no harm ever will happen to this child.
He's
And
the knight in shining armor.
yes, no, I love it. And like I actually learned, I read so many parenting books, and then I'm like, this guy, did you read this? He's living it. And I'm like, I married a guy who knows exactly what this book was all about. And he didn't
Yeah.
have, he was yeah, he didn't have a present father at all. So he's literally, and this is the point that I wanted to make, Robert, so where you were leading, he literally just said, what is a good dad? And that's what I'm going to be. Because he didn't have any bad examples to undo. He didn't,
Mm.
he had total lack, like absent father completely. So he's like, well, what would be a good dad? What did I wish I had, or what should a child deserve? And then he's just filling that in, and it's amazing. And so that's the thing is, both parents need to have a great discussion and series of discussions and ongoing formation of their definition of success. Now, is success as mom and dad the absence of suffering? Is it that my child never cries, never suffers, never has a problem? Then you really need to like, that's not life.
Yeah.
Then what are they going to do when they fly the nest, right? They get their degree, or they begin their business, or they're now mature enough, they want to venture out, and they've never suffered. They like, right? Who's kissing all the boo-boos then? And
Yeah.
who's laying out yeah, they have to step in the mud, they have to fall in the all of that. So you have to decide, and you have to get comfortable. It is okay for this child to cry. You know why? Because that's a normal reaction. That is a human reaction to the experience. And it's even, the best part is that we're here. Like he's crying, but in a moment, like what you said, like, he's gonna have the best embrace, and he's gonna be prayed for. Like he's like, all the pieces are there. What's the bad, what's the problem? Like it like you imagine you and I as adults, and we don't get to let out our emotions. We have to just be stoic. And no, you and I, we go in the room and we let it out,
Yeah.
hopefully in a healthy way, right? But it escapes us, and then all of a sudden there's relief, and then you can now focus. But we have to be able to, our children get to do that. And it isn't it isn't awful if you see an upset child. What's awful is if the child is upset and no one is tending to the child.
Yeah.
Like,
Correct.
whose
After
kid
the
is
fact,
that?
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
No, like, and that's what I love. We have a whole village, right? Like when my child's upset, all the moms are there. All the other, like yesterday, one child fell down, and it was a horrible fall in the function hall, and she had two peers. Are you okay? And they had their hands on her shoulder, and they were tending to her, and her face was so upset, but she was like feeling that love of the brotherhood in that moment. And I
Oh,
was there just letting the kids be, because I could have rushed, oh, are you okay? I could have mommed it up in that moment, but I was just so proud of her peers. And then I was just verbally guiding them, like, hey, why don't we move her to a comfortable spot? Look, she's able to move. That's a great sign, and so she recovered. And that was the thing, we're gonna recover.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think that's important, that watching and witnessing children do that for one another is as a way that it really demonstrates that they're sort of already building that village that you talk about, right?
And
Yeah.
they learn that from their adults.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
wasn't Daniel Tiger. That was someone
Yeah.
did it to them. They were like, this was wonderful. I'm gonna pass that on.
Yep. So, Sister Joy, what about you? Brother Billy is he a mosquito crusher, or
Yeah,
is he?
he's definitely a mosquito crusher. And it's funny. And like we said, we could probably this is probably another topic of its
Yep.
own. But yeah, he will scoop in and save the day. I have this visual memory of when my daughter, she was just like a toddler not even a toddler at the time. This is when she was learning how to walk and stand on her own. And I'll never forget. So for those of you who know my husband, he's a really big guy. And we happened to be on the couch, and I remember she was just trying to get up and she fell. And she's my third. By the time she fell, I'm like, oh, she'll get up. This guy flung up and he wanted to go out and like save her. And yeah. And I just remember like, what are you doing? And he had to like jump over the playpen.
To get her.
Yeah, and it's just in his nature. And I'm like, she'll be all right. There's cushion there.
Well, Brother Billy is a first responder, so that is kind of
That is true.
that's his nature, right? That's not dad. That's dad / first responder. So
Whatever you want to name it, but that's him for sure.
That is awesome. Well, but those are all important traits because, again, having parents that do both for the child and blessed to have a contrasting way of dealing with it as well in the moms, right? Because definitely with me and Sister Lulu, same thing. I'm a guy, so I just want to solve things. I don't want to teach. I want to just fix it, right? And she's the teacher, 100%. She is the teacher. She is the wise one. Raise the kids to problem solve, and I'm just the guy that'll fix it, unless it's a math problem. Then I can't help you. But I want to go down this list because we're getting down to the bottom of the hour here. But praising effort and not just the results. Important life lesson, right? Teaching emotional literacy. We kind of covered that already when we talked about emotional maturity in our children and learning how to understand those. And then fostering independence. I think, Stan, you cover that well when you talk about the example of Isla and just kind of giving her all of that responsibility to do things on her own that are age appropriate. So, selling in a market and everything else, those are all great. Don't put them behind the wheel of your car just yet till they get their driver's permit. Normalizing failures and setbacks, knowing like this was actually one, and I think this is an important one because we said getting up and doing it again and again and again, but doing it the same way without having learned from that experience isn't going to yield different results, right? Definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Another example of that is that, when you go through trying to understand what it is you did wrong, we always talk about good decisions and bad decisions. I think we brought this up in a previous show. We said good decisions usually come from experience, but experience usually comes from making bad decisions. So you got to be able to do all of that, right? And then creating a safe and secure home environment. Kids have got to understand, as parents, we're always going to be there for them. 100%. Doesn't matter what you do, whether you fail or you're not, we're going to be here for you. And it's important for our children to be resilient because at some point, as they hopefully are grown into adults, when we're not around anymore for them, they've built enough resilience to be able to tackle life and handle life and do the things. That's our dream, right?
Oh yeah.
As parents,
For sure.
is that we raise resilient children. And then lastly, things that we want to avoid here in the last minute is making sure that we're not rescuing too quick, right? Unless you're Brother Billy. Then Superman with his cape comes flying across the room. Don't shame or punish them, obviously, because that's just something that's absolutely a sabotaging their growth and their development. And solving all their problems for them, no brainer here because I can't solve all the problems. And then comparing them to others. That's such a toxic thing in the life of our children is to compare them to others because it's just it's not healthy. And so of course, this topic, as we mentioned, with different ages, you've got toddlers, elementary, and tweens. We're going to tackle this actually in a follow-up episode. We're going to talk specifically about what are the things we want to do at these different stages because this is going to be a lot more in-depth discussion. But I think that this rounds out our program for today because we are the fastest now 60 minutes on radio. But INCRadio Washington, D.C. is going to be coming up next. I want to thank our special host or panelist today, Sister Annie Cañete, for sharing all of her stories about raising children to be resilient. I think that's a tough skill for them to learn, even as adults for us. But for now, I'd like to, of course, thank everyone for joining us today on the program. We hope that you've learned a little something. Keep the conversations going. Continue to ask, and we'll see you next week. But for now, this is Brother Robert DePaulis here in Tampa, Florida, for Sister Audrey in Tampa, for Sister Joy there in Orlando. And of course, we want to thank Sister Annie up there in East Jacksonville for joining us today here on INCRadio Florida. We'll see you next week.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio